Once upon a time, a brother and sister named Hansel and Gretel lived in a hut in the woods with their father. Their father was a poor woodcutter. His wife, their mother, had died when the two children were very young. Their father thought he would not be lonely anymore when he finally remarried, but the new stepmother made life very difficult for Hansel and Gretel. The children were not allowed to eat until after the stepmother had taken everything she wanted off the plates. Most of the time there was only a crust of bread left, and all day long were hard chores for them to do. Hansel and Gretel tried to tell their father about this, but he would not hear of it. The stepmother talked about was how much trouble it was to have children in the hut, and how much she wished they would go away forever. Each day, there was less and less food for the boy and girl to eat. Yet the stepmother gave them more and more hard work to do. One day, Gretel begged her father, "Please, father, all day long we work hard and we're hungry. You ungrateful children," the stepmother yelled. That night, the two children were not allowed to sleep in the hut outside in the cold. They shivered and tried to keep each other warm. Winter was coming, and the clothes they wore were so thin, it felt almost as if they had no clothes on at all. The next morning when the sun rose, Gretel turned to her little brother. "Hansel," she said, "we cannot stay here. We must escape now, today into the woods. Surely we will find more to eat when we are on our own than what we get here at home." "Do you think?" said Hansel. "But what if we get lost?" "We won't," said Gretel. "I will take bread. We will drop breadcrumbs behind us. If we must, we can follow the crumbs back home." And so, the two of them went off into the woods and left their hard life behind. They went deeper and deeper into the woods. Gretel was careful to drop one crumb, and then after a bit, another. Walking in the forest, Gretel saw a small light shining far away. "Maybe whoever lives there is kind and will take us in," said Gretel. The two children sped as fast as they could to the light. When they got closer, they could not believe their eyes. From top to bottom, the hut was made all of candy. From its gingerbread roof, with frosting all over the walls, and with candies tucked into the frosting. "Gretel!" Hansel cried out. Before Gretel could say, "I bet it will be okay if we have just a little taste," both were already biting off small chunks and licking the sweet candy. "Who is nibbling on my house?" said a voice. Hansel and Gretel spun around. Stunned, Gretel could only curtsy. "If you please, Mom," she said as sweetly as she could. "There was so much candy on your house, and we are so hungry." "You have that right. My house," snapped the witch. Her voice dropped. "Well then," said the witch in a gentler tone, "come inside. I'll get something for you to eat." They were given a fine meal of soup and bread. The next morning when they woke, Hansel found himself locked in a cage. The witch roared, "That's where your brother will stay. Every day I will fatten him up. Soon he will make me a fine dinner." She laughed and laughed, rubbing her hands with glee. "Till then," she said sharply to Gretel, "you will work for me." Indeed, Hansel was well fed, and Gretel worked hard all day doing chores for the witch. "Gretel," Hansel whispered in fear, "what are we to do?" The next morning, the witch approached Gretel and said, "Be a dear," said the witch with a slow grin. "Go inside the oven, won't you? Tell me if it is hot enough." "I am not sure how to tell." "Nonsense," said the witch. "Nothing could be easier. Just go in." Said Gretel slowly. "Please show me first." "Stupid girl," snapped the witch. Mumbling and grumbling, she stepped in the oven. The moment the witch was inside, Gretel quickly slammed the door. She freed her brother from the cage, and they ran out of the hut. In the daylight, they soon found a small path and followed it. It led to a wider path, and that path led to a road. They waited by the roadside, hoping someone would ride by. When a horseman trotted up, Hansel and Gretel waved their hands. When the horseman stopped, the children offered one of the small jewels, and the horseman was happy to give them a ride home. When the brother and sister opened the door to their home, their father was wild with joy to see them. He had worried and looked for them night and day since they had vanished. For many years to come, Hansel and Gretel lived very happily with their father in the hut in the woods.